last lesson of the week. Guys, there's only really 3 lessons that I've downloaded for you this week. But the thing with probability is that, at least in this level, in fact even in higher levels, the level is not difficult. The theory, let's put it this, the theory of probability is pretty easy. All we learned is 3 rules from Professor Popek, right? When I have the probability of 2 events to happen, one after another, okay, what we're going to do is multiply the events. So probability of A and B is probability of A times the probability of B. For 2 events, either one of them to happen, let's say the probability of A or B to happen, what we're going to do, we add the probabilities. So probability of A or B is PA plus PB. And the last one, the probability of not A to happen is 1 minus probability of A to happen. Okay, P of not A equal 1 minus probability of A. But even though the theory is quite easy, the questions can be difficult. Okay, so it's true for everything in math, but specifically in probability, you gotta practice. Okay, because the question can be asked in a different way. So today I'm going to ask you to do a revision exercise. But I'm also going to throw in a couple of difficult questions. And there will be one difficult question in any test, even in the exam. You know how it is. But I think you guys can have a go at it. Okay? So let's start with this. Let's say I have 5 balls. Okay? Like little balls, and there's a number in them. So there's 5 balls. Each one have a different number. What will be the probability of picking up? Imagine that they're all in a sack, and I'm pulling out a ball without looking. What's the probability that I'm going to pick up number 1? Okay. Well, probability, there's 1 ball with number 1 out of it. There's overall 5 balls. The probability is 1 over 5. No problem. Okay, that's easy. Now we're moving on to compound events. What's the probability of picking 1, putting it back into the sack, and then picking number 2? So I pick number 1 first, put it back in, and then I pick number 2. Well, Dr. Popek told us, or Professor Popek told us, that's the probability of picking number 1 in the beginning, and then I'm timing it by the probability of picking number 2 the second time. So that's not a problem. Probability of picking number 1 is 1 over 5. We calculated that. And then I'm putting it back in. So I still have 5 balls, and now I pick number 2. And again, there's just 1 ball with number 2 on it out of 5. So the probability again is going to be 1 out of 5. Multiply them like Professor Popek said, and we get 1 over 25. Okay? So that's your normal level for grade 9. But now I'm going to turn it into some more difficult question. Okay? These are kind of questions are the ones where I call it you return the object into your sack. You take 1 out and you put it back in. What happens if you don't take it out? So here they're asking us, what's the probability that I picked number 1, I did not return it. Okay? I left it outside. And now I'm picking up another ball, and I'm asking what's the probability that I also pick 2 in the second time. Okay, so I didn't return number 1. I picked number 1 in the beginning, and what's the probability now that I've got number 2 after that? Okay? You might say it's the same answer, but it's no. It starts the same. Okay? It's still the probability that I picked up number 1 times the probability that I picked up number 2. It starts the same. And the probability of picking number 1 is still a fifth, because there's 1 out of 5. But now the thing is, I didn't return number 1 in. So now how many balls are there? Okay? Now I didn't return number 1, so there's only 4 balls left. So what will be the probability of getting number 2 when there's only 4 balls left? Correct. So it will be 1 over 4. Okay? I didn't return that ball. Okay? So the answer in this case is going to be 1 over 20. So there's 2 types of question. The easier one is when we return the ball into the sack. The more difficult one is when we do not return the ball into the sack. And you need to figure out which question it is in front of you. Okay, I'm going to pause and I'll put another challenging question. Okay, the other kind of challenging question is with areas. Okay, so they all sound different, but they all work out kind of the same. So I've got a target. It's usually with targets. Okay, so I've got a circle inside a square, and the square is 5 on 5. Okay? And imagine that's a target, that you throw these dots. And I throw dots at the target. Okay? Now, I know for a fact that I hit somewhere inside that square. I know for sure. I can't miss, let's say. Okay? What they're asking me is to calculate the probability that I hit the shaded area. The shaded area is that little bit here. Okay? Just outside of the circle, but inside the square. How do we do that? I mean, we haven't done anything about area. Okay? So again, here where common sense is supposed to hit in. The probability that I hit the shaded area, if I know I hit somewhere within the square, is going to be the area of the shaded, or let's put it like that, the shaded area divided by the square area. And I'll just leave it here for a second for you to try and convince you, okay? So, what's the probability that I'm going to hit there and not here? Is to do with the area of the shaded area divided by the area of the square. The smaller the shaded area compared relative size to the area of the square, the less chance I have to do it. The bigger the shaded area, the more chance I have. So it's really a question of geometry. I'm going to calculate the area of the shaded area divided by the area of the square. Let's start with the area of the square. The area of the square is easy. Okay? 5 times 5, that's not a problem. Okay? What is the area of the shaded area? Well, this is a very complicated kind of area to calculate. But what I know is how to calculate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the area of the square minus the area of the circle. That's how I'm going to do it. Because what is the shaded area? Shaded area is like the leftovers. Imagine that this whole square is a cake or pizza. Let's say pizza. Okay? Now you cut the circle in the middle. What you end up with, the shade of the area, is the leftover. So how do I do it? I find the area of the square minus the area of the circle. Okay? What's the area of the square? We already know it's 25. 5 times 5. Minus what's the area of the circle? Well, it's pi times r squared. You need to remember that. What's the radius? Well, okay, the radius is this bit. That's the radius. Well, that's exactly half of the diameter. This is the diameter. This is the radius. The diameter is 5. So the area is 2.5. And I need to square that. And that's the shaded area and divided by 25. And you just put that in the calculator. Okay? You can actually, I'll show you how to do it in the calculator in all one go. Okay? So have a look. I'm just going to press this button here, which is like fractions. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. Do you know what? I'm just going to stop here and show you that with close up. Okay, so we'll just stop.